Hi everyone, Sally here. How are you doing today? Welcome to Menopause Mindset Monday. How are you? Have you had a good weekend? Let me know how you're doing. Pop a comment in the box, send me a little thumbs up, send me a hi, whatever you fancy. So, before we start, I just want to get a little bit serious for a moment. Obviously, I am acutely aware of the Black Lives Matter campaign that's going on at the moment, and I really do want to talk to this. So, for the last week, I've been researching, I've been pondering, I've been doing a lot of self inquiry. Hi, Katrina. And I have done some research on Black menopause, and I want to bring this to you, but I'm going to do it next week if that's okay. So if you don't mind, I would just like to carry on with what we started. So last week we started this idea of relationships. It was how to improve sex in your relationship. And this week I promised all the singles in the house that I would talk about being single at perimenopause and how you can attract love without having a physical makeover, more of a makeover of the mind, so to speak. So this topic I feel is really, really important because, loneliness seems to be at epidemic proportions, especially now in lockdown, and all of our stuff just comes up into the surface. And really, we don't live in connected communities like we used to when we were living in even 100 years ago, we lived a much more community-based life, probably even less than that. In the 70s and 60s, we were much more community-based. Now, we're so much more independent. We don't even need to go out the house, do we? We can get everything delivered from Amazon or delivery shops. So we are living more isolated lives. And I think this is what is increasing anxiety and making this feeling of loneliness worse. And loneliness is not great if you are perimenopausal, because perimenopausal is really destabilizing anyway, and relationships can help us feel more grounded. So, you might be happily single, and that's wonderful. If you are happily single, you're not looking for a relationship, that's great. But if you are looking for a relationship, I can totally empathize, and I know why you might be feeling like at this point in your life, you're really craving that companionship, that solidarity, that union with another person. So, just because you want a relationship, it doesn't make you a bad person, or it doesn't make you codependent, right? Because I believe that things come in pairs. When you look at the nature of the universe, you have positive and negative, you have the yin and the yang, you have positively charged electrons and negatively charged electrons. You have the North Pole, you have the South Pole. And I think if you look deeper into quantum physics, you will see that pair nature of reality. So the fact that if you are single and you are craving a relationship, you are not codependent, you are not bad. We are wired to find connection and belonging. It just is. Because this disconnection from another, from a pair, can actually prolong this feeling of agony. It can prolong this feeling of suffering. So I think personally, I feel that it is important to be open to finding love and to really work on your stuff so that you can eliminate the barriers to connection. So a high proportion of my female RTT clients are single women at perimenopause who have got quite a lot of baggage from the past that they're carrying, and they are recognizing the link between not being able to find a relationship and that baggage. Loving the whole, oh hi Lucy, loving the whole pairing idea. Never thought of that before. Yeah, it was Harville Hendrix that said something about that in the beginning of his book. It's an audio book called Finding and Keeping the Love You Want. Really, really good. I'll see if I can find a little bit more about that for you, Katrina. Yes. So what else? Yeah, so if you are single at perimenopause, you might have certain narratives, very subconscious narratives, going around, certain limiting beliefs that might be along the lines of, I've missed the boat, I'm not lovable, I am, who's going to love me now? I'm not like I used to be, I'm not sexy enough, I'm not lovable enough, I don't know how to date. There aren't men out there who are for me. And also you might feel that you don't have the tolerance to date because our tolerance goes down, doesn't it, in I keep saying that, sorry, in perimenopause. So so often we're dealing with like judgments and fears and defensiveness that at perimenopause and midlife, we tend to have more of. But then we also can end up blaming ourselves for that defensiveness. And, it's finding that balance so that we are owning our stuff, but not owning it too much, so that we're really, really hard on ourselves. So let me know if you've got any kind of negative beliefs that you are aware of that you are perpetuating. And, we know that these beliefs are not helpful because they are limiting. And what happens is the more we hold on to these beliefs, the more they get backed up by evidence, the evidence that we collect as we go through life, as we go through the dating game or the relationship game. I shouldn't really call it game. Yeah, let me see what you said. Got to go be teacher. I'll catch you later. Yeah, no worries. Okay, so where are we? Yeah, and then once we've perpetuated, so we gather these negative beliefs about ourselves, we perpetuate them, life reflects back at them, and then we get into a sticky wicket because your mind is always looking out for things to believe. Your mind is always so another way of putting it is what is expected tends to be realized. So the older we get, the more proof we have, the more proof we get from life that we are those things. And so we end up very, very stuck, and it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. And now at some point we have to go in, we have to break that cycle. Now I'm saying here, there's also the fact that perimenopause itself is destabilising, and therefore many women don't feel mentally strong enough to deal with the ups and downs of dating, especially in the initial part of dating. So they throw the towel in very, very quickly. But there are a few things that you can do to help you figure out where you're at, if a relationship is worth carrying on with, or if it's just worth moving on to the next. So yeah, we are dealing with a lot. We do feel less desirable. Maybe we have anxiety, maybe we have depression, maybe we have brain fog, maybe we have things like vaginal dryness or vaginal atrophy, or we're worried about perspiration, and we're just sort of a bit embarrassed about those subjects because we feel that men don't really understand. And this is a huge issue. We do have a responsibility to educate the men in our lives about menopause in a way that's not shaming women, in a way that's not shameful. If you mention the word menopause, oh, could you be in menopause to a woman? Sometimes they get defensive, and it's like, no, you don't need to get this is natural. It's not just the stopping of your period. You're not suddenly just becoming infertile. There's a whole journey around menopause, which really has to be addressed. And the more we can speak about it, the more we can get our men to understand that it's something to really be honoured in a woman. Then hopefully we can change things for our daughters, our granddaughters, etc., etc. So this is why a lot of women are being a bit more vocal now. Right, okay. What else? Sorry, I end up going off the cuff and everything that I've planned goes out the window. Okay, so I've got 4 tips for you 4 big tips to help you attract love without needing a physical makeover. Okay, so number 1, be really open to learning what narrative you've got and then unlearning that narrative. This is so important if you really are committed to finding and keeping the love that you want. So this is about doing the deep inner work and clearing out the past. I feel that this can't be done on a superficial level, and personally I feel, unless you're really experienced in psychology and maybe you're a therapist or counselor yourself, but I feel that this is really hard to do without a therapist. I don't know. I mean, I can kind of work through my own stuff now, but before that, I really couldn't. I needed the help. I needed that external reflection. So your relationship to your intimate partners will be a direct reflection of the relationship that you had with your parents. The good, the bad, the ugly, everything. And it will reflect everything that you learned about yourself as well, and how you communicate with others. Sorry, I nearly said uggles. You'll know why in a minute. Because all of your power struggles will be reflected in your relationships as well. And the power struggles that you were exposed to as a child get reflected in your relationships. So your parental relationships are massively key to understanding your intimate relationships. And we really need to do the inner work. We need to really explore and understand and unpick and unravel what was going on in childhood. You know, if you've got a great relationship or you're really happy being single, then you don't need to do this inner work. But if you're struggling, then you do. So it's asking yourself questions like, as a child, was one or both of your parents physically absent, or were they even emotionally absent? Did they recognize your emotional needs? Did they recognize your emotions, or did they brush them off? So this causes, so many different types of narratives that we can end up latching onto. But it could mean that you are then attracted to a partner who is emotionally unavailable or physically absent in some way, shape, or form. It could be a reflection. There's no right or wrong. It's an explorative journey. There are patterns, there are tendencies, but it's very individual. Did a parent have an affair? And have you subconsciously created a belief that's like, affairs are bad and that's it? There's no you won't even entertain a conversation around the whys and hows, and well, not necessarily the hows, but the whys. Understanding why people have affairs is really important. But if you've been wounded by an affair as a child, you're going to really block that narrative, and you won't have that deeper understanding. Or maybe you're attracting people into your life who are going to have affairs. Or maybe you're the one that's had that example and you feel it's okay to betray or have affairs, or just have multiple partners. So lots going on. Well, one of your parents emotionally dependent on you or emotionally reliant on you. And does this subconsciously make you push people away? Does it make you shut your heart down because it is too much responsibility? Love is too much responsibility. Was one of your parents really explosive and the other one powerless? And has that affected how you communicate with a partner? Do you fluctuate between being dominating and powerless? Or are you predominantly one or the other? Are you dominating your partner to get your needs met? Or are you never getting your needs met because you're so submissive? So it's really looking back at the past relationships you've had to understand how you can make the future ones better. What did you learn about yourself as a child? Did you learn that, love's not available to me? Did you learn that no woman or man can ever match up to a parent? I've had that issue. Did you have a belief that, I have to really work hard to earn love? Or did you have a belief that love's always there, so I don't need to work hard to earn love? That was me. Did you do you have a belief that I'm just not good enough? Nobody showed me that I was beautiful. Nobody taught me that I was attractive. But actually, parents taught me that my body was shameful, that my emotions were wrong, that yeah, I'm just a bad person, or I'm not important, or I'm not significant, or I don't matter, things like that. Did a relationship with a parent just make you feel completely powerless? So now you feel you have to outsource that power and get it from someone else. There's quite a lot, isn't there? There's quite a lot under the surface. And often, in relationships, sometimes we feel that we can't let go. We can't be loved. We can't receive love. We can't let love in because there's just a feeling that love is painful. Love will disappear. Love hurts. I mean, that's the big one, isn't it? Love hurts. So I'm not going to let it in because you're wired to avoid pain and move towards pleasure. And if love hurts, you're going to shut the door on love. So you often find that people have this kind of closed heart center, or this closed sacral plexus as well, when it comes to not being able to attract love in. So yeah, look at the types of relationships you've been attracting in the past. Do the inner work to find out where that narrative comes from. Try to do this with a therapist if you can. If you want to reach out to me, I'm happy to show you what RTT is all about, because I work with people a lot around their relationships, especially at midlife. It's such a powerful thing that's going on. But yeah, so understanding the narrative and where it came from is only half the story. This is like tip number 1, part A, and this is part B. So once you've worked out why you're not attracting the love that you want in your life, it's really important to then change that story. Once you can write down all of those negative beliefs, you can then go in and start to change them. But this might be really, really difficult at first. It might be challenging. It might feel just difficult. It might feel sticky. Because again, there's a ton of evidence to support those limiting beliefs. But like I said, you've got to go in there and cut the cords, cut the old story. And it's really important when we are trying to change the language that we meet ourselves where we're at. So if you've got a belief that says, I'm not lovable, don't then go, I'm amazing, I'm lovable, I'm powerful, I'm a goddess, because that's going to be too much of a disparity there and you're not going to believe it. You want something that resonates with you. So it might be, I'm learning to be lovable. I'm becoming lovable. I don't know what that looks like yet, but I'm willing to learn. I'm willing to be open to learn to be lovable. And I'm going to start, what's the first thing? What's the tiniest little thing? What's the minimum viable commitment for you to learn how you can be lovable? So I hope this is resonating, and let me know if it is or isn't. I'm open. So number 2, this is about getting super clear on your core values. So if we are listening, so if we're really, really listening to ourselves, we understand what our core values are. And often at menopause and at perimenopause, our values start to change. And it's really important that we become fully aware of how our values are changing. So what we can do when we become aware of our values changing is we can start to measure every decision that we make in accordance with those values. So the trouble is, most people firstly don't understand what their core values are. They've never done any core value work. And then secondly, if they do reveal their values, they go against them consciously for the sake of filling the space, for the sake of filling like that loneliness, that void. And this is what happens. We just get involved in relationships that really are not for us. They're not in line with our true values. And this, I think, is the problem with, swipe culture. because it's like the pick and mix of the dating world, isn't it? It's sugary. It's almost like you feel somewhat rejection proof with swipe culture, because it's like, oh yeah, I won't try and find the right person. I'll just go on and see, base it on face value. That's the thing. We actually need to dig a little deeper before we understand whether someone is right for us or not. And so at perimenopause, it becomes less about the physical appearance and more about values. It is about physical appearance as well, but we mustn't overlook the idea of values. So yeah. So I have got a podcast episode coming out on Thursday with Justine Catherine, who's a life coach, and she is an expert on values. So I recommend you listen to that on Thursday. But if you want to work out your values now, what you can do is take a piece of paper and just write down everything that is important to you. And if you need a list of values, just go on to Google and punch in, show me a list of values, and there's like hundreds and hundreds. Try not to get overwhelmed, but just pick out the ones that really actually resonate with you right now. So when you were in your 20s, things like excitement and adventure might have been really, really important to you. But as you go into peri, it might be that actually stability and kindness is more important to you. So really check in with where you are at right now. And so brainstorm a list of your values. And then what you can do, what we're trying to do is whittle them down to like maybe 4 or 5 or 6 at the most. And you can start to see a pattern in those values. You can actually start to categorize them. Well, connection's actually the same as belonging, which is actually the same as socializing. So you can bunch those together and then you can call that one thing. So once you've got your list of values, core values are things that really mean a lot to you, you can prioritize them in order. And then you can pop them up around your space to remind you of what they are. And then every decision that you make, you can measure those against your values. And if you don't have enough information, that's when you just need to dig a little deeper to find out, ask more questions to find out, is this person in line with me? Yes. So when it comes to dating, you will very quickly get to know if someone shares the same values as you. If they don't, you don't need to waste your time on seeing if they might be, because time is precious at menopause. And while we don't want to throw away a potentially good relationship because someone isn't exactly in alignment with our values, we also don't want to settle either. So it's then about deciding, does someone have to be 100% in alignment with your values? Or can it be 90%, 80%, 70%, etc.? What's acceptable to you? 50%, 40%? Maybe not. Maybe that's one of your values. Someone has to be, I'm really pertinent about this. I know. I'm really passionate. It has to be 100% in alignment, but then you risk perhaps being more alone, or not alone, but more on your own in your life. Sometimes we have to do a bit of give and take, and actually sometimes understanding why people have different values to us can be one of your values. Openness, understanding, seeking to expand, seeking to explore. So again, it's not just a one size fits all approach. Okay, number 3. Do what you can to feel desirable, not desperate. Okay, so this is about really taking ownership of your sexy, sacral energy. And this is a big thing at menopause because the reproductive organs, the sex hormones is all around the sacral chakra. It's all linked to the sacral chakra. I'm learning all about the chakras at the moment, so it's quite exciting. And at menopause, that energy is being depleted. Those hormone levels are coming down, so that energy is kind of getting smaller and smaller. So we need to actually work harder on our desirability, on our libido, on our sexiness, on our inner pleasure, our willingness to feel pleasure. It's hugely, it's huge. It's bigger than what I'm making it out to be right now, because I don't have the energy to get super passionate right now. So we must learn to bolster this energy if we're single and if we're in a relationship, quite frankly. But if we're single, we need to learn to get this energy independently first, because here's the thing, life responds to the way that you feel. So if you feel empty on the inside, life is going to give you more stuff that reflects back that emptiness. Okay, if you feel full, if you feel voluptuous, if you feel brimming over with sexiness, life is going to give you more of the stuff that mirrors that energy. So this is where you really are in control of your external happenings. Bit touch of brain fog today, sorry. So how can you help yourself? How can you cultivate this sexy sacral energy? How can you enable yourself to feel more confident? Because confidence is key. I think when we feel confident internally, we feel more like we can express our desires or know what our desires are. If we just don't have the confidence, we're really going to be quite shrinky there. So this is about opening up and creating confidence in yourself. So sometimes even things like learning something new can make you feel more confident on the inside, learning a new language. This is very up here, but maybe if you want to get more sacral, you could learn to dance. Maybe you could learn some breathing exercises. Maybe you could learn a bit more about touch, massage, self-pleasure. This comes up time and time again. Learning what gives you pleasure is massive, because it then helps to give you a voice. Because guys or women, depending on what sexuality you are, we're always looking for guidance. How can we make our partner happy? What do they like? If you don't know what you like, if you're expecting to get that from the other person, you might be waiting a very long time. So again, this is building up your sense of self, maybe your sense of identity, your sense of emotional security within yourself. And once you are building those layers, then you're going to start to feel more desirable, but that is going to come from inside. Yeah. So looking at ways you can do that. Let me know what you think. Let me know something that you might want to do for yourself in that, or something that you feel that you can do. This really is solar plexus energy and sacral energy. The confidence, the identity, the will is solar plexus. And then the sacral plexus is the emotions, it's the pleasure, it's the fun. Like, people like being around people who are fun. And obviously, perimenopause can suck the life out of you. So it's working with that and making sure that you really take care of yourself, so that you do have the energy to have a relationship. If you have no energy because you are not doing self-care, relationships are going to be really tricky for you, because you're going to be codependent and you're going to be outsourcing your power. And that might be where your relationships have been going wrong in the past. Self-care always comes first. Okay. So sometimes working on the outside can help as well. I did say that you don't need a makeover to attract another person, but sometimes, it can be the icing on the cake. The clothes that you adorn yourself with, your hair, getting a good haircut, your nails, your makeup. I know not many of us are prioritizing that at the moment because we're not going out, we're not socializing, but you could, in theory, adorn yourself indoors, take some photos of yourself, or walk around your house, or go out dressed up, or go on a socially distanced date dressed up. In fact, I'm doing an interview with a lady who is a menopausal stylist. So that's going to be quite interesting. So I'm sure we're going to explore the idea of your outward appearance a little bit more and how that can affect you internally as well. Yes, so coming back to the self-care element, relaxation, breathing exercises, movement, dance, good nutrition, prioritizing yourself. And even if you've got children, making them aware that mummy needs time for herself. And the reason she needs time for herself is so that she can generate the energy to give that back to you. And yeah, self-care is not selfish. So yes, remember, you are a magnetic being. You are always in the attraction process. You're always attracting people, places, events, connections. But in this respect, we are talking about an intimate partner. You are always attracting. Even if you are attracting nothing, you are still attracting. What you are attracting is nothing. You're attracting emptiness. So it's always, always, always coming back to self, filling yourself up, generating the feeling inside of you that a partner would give you. Stability, love, joy, sensualness, pleasure. It's not always easy to do that and can take quite a lot of work. And I think, this is like a kind of step 2. I think a step 1, it really is about looking at where that narrative's come from first. And then you're able to understand why. Then you're able to try to let that go. Proclaim from the mountaintops that you are no longer bound by your own programming. And actually what you're doing now is reparenting yourself, filling yourself up with things that nourish you from the inside, that balance you, so that the universe can see what kind of point of attraction you are at. So it is, attracting love is about being attractive, not in the aesthetic sense, but in the magnetic sense. And if you're confident, you have charisma, that's very magnetic. But you also want to be genuine as well. So yeah, I hope this is making sense. And this brings me on to my last tip, which is kind of intertwined with what I was saying before, letting go of the I'll be happy when syndrome. It's actually an illusion that another person can make you happy. Of course, it's nice to have a partner in crime and to feel like someone's got your back, but we do need to learn to be self-sufficient, a self-generating pleasure machine, a self-generating confidence machine, a self-generating love machine. Because we ultimately, a partner may die, a partner may leave, a partner may betray. So it is very important that we become there's an analogy with an element, which is a noble gas. I cannot tell you what the analogy is, but I heard it from Bruce Lipton. And it's something to do with the fact that a noble gas is independent. It gets its energy from itself, whereas all of the other elements kind of need others to, I don't know, to do their job. Maybe I need to look at it a bit more, but yeah, there is that idea. And once you become like a noble gas, you attract another person who's also like a noble gas into your existence. And so you're no longer like sucking the life out of each other and in constant power struggles, but you are just bobbing along beautifully, independently, but together. And you're very aware of your relationship dynamics. You're able to address them in a way that's really, really healthy and non-confrontational. And if there is confrontation, you can quickly move past it, and you can really own your own ego, not constantly kind of blaming others. So yes. Yeah, and Also remembering as well that love is just a chemical reaction. I know it sounds heartless, but that's what love is. Love is a blend of chemicals in your body: oxytocin, serotonin, dopamine. That's what it is, and you can get that. You can dispense those chemicals yourself in your own mind. Not easy, for sure, but it can be done. And you don't have to do this like 100%. You don't have to go all in on this. But as long as you're working towards helping yourself to feel more desirable on the inside, then what you want is going to come to you. Actually, something I didn't mention here was visualization, and visualizing the kind of person that you want in your life. Maybe writing down those qualities and seeing if they're in line with your values, and perhaps seeing where the disparity is, but also how you can start to cultivate those qualities in your life. And then visualizing that person. You don't have to do it 24/7, but just seeing them, seeing that they're available, that they're there, they're in your imagination, remembering that your imagination is the most powerful thing you have. And it's very magnetic, and your mind is always listening, always looking, and what is expected is realized. So having an idea, seeing them, seeing you with them, happy, doing what it is that you want to do, feeling secure. And actually that visualization can help you to generate those feelings that are required inside of you in order to feel more desirable and more confident. So visualization is powerful, especially alongside music. You don't need to do it all the time. You can just do it for 30 seconds once a day, particularly powerful if you are already feeling relaxed. So, yes. All right. So in summary, understanding why you are attracting emptiness or why you are attracting the wrong kind of partner. Go back, unpick your childhood, do it with a therapist. Contact me if you're interested in rapid transformational therapy. It's brilliant. It's done under hypnosis. It's phenomenal. In fact, one of my clients got a couple of years ago, actually, she'd been single for ages. She ended up meeting a partner. And then after the second treatment, she ended up getting pregnant. Yay. Can't promise that's going to happen to everyone, but you never know. Number 2, get clear on your core values and measure every decision against those core values, even if it feels intuitive. I'm rushing. Even if it feels counterintuitive at the time. And then number 3, work on your sacral chakra. Ignite your own inner confidence. Ignite your own inner pleasure centers. And number 4, forget the I'll be happy when. Remember that love is a concoction of chemicals that is dispensed in your own brain. So it's all about the now. It's about the visualization and seeing it right here, right now. Okay, well, I hope that's helped. And let me know what you've thought about it. Let me know if you have any other comments or questions. I'll be happy to walk through them with you. So just a couple of announcements then. I've had 2 amazing emails this week from women who have been listening to the podcast, which has been amazing because it's been going now for about 9 weeks and it's finally starting to gather momentum and the numbers are starting to extrapolate. So that's really amazing. And one particular email has actually really blown me away because she said that her partner listened to the podcast as well, a male partner, and gained a much deeper understanding of what she had been going through in her perimenopausal journey. So I'll just do a little quote here. She says, I've been back in contact with my ex-partner. He's also listened to your podcast and is reading up on hormonal imbalance effects. He has acknowledged that he had work to do on himself and he did not support me enough. We're taking things slowly, but I feel that once I have a relationship back with myself and understand my body more, then I may be ready to have another relationship with him. So I thought that was really inspirational to pop at the end of this Facebook Live. Because, menopause affects men too. How we are as women can really affect the men that we attract in our lives. And it's so important to really take ownership of our health, our body, our finances, every area of our lives, especially our self-care at menopause. Yes, and educating the men in our lives. So please let them know about the podcast. And next week I have got this week actually, it's Thursday, I will have Justine Catherine on. She's a core values expert, like I said. So do check that out on Thursday. And hi TJ, I'm just finishing now, TJ, sorry. And if there are any of you here that feel like you have a story, a menopausal story that you would like to share with the world, I'd love to get you on as a guest on my podcast. Remember, it's really good doing that little stretch, being a bit more visible, telling your story is really, really good for your confidence as well. So if you do want to be a guest on the podcast, do let me know. If you fancy having an RTT session or just finding out a little bit more about it, visit my website, sallygarozzo.com. There's a video on the homepage that explains more, or just get in touch. All right, lovely ones. It's been lovely. I've really enjoyed doing this. Remember, next week we are talking about Black menopause, Black women's menopause, and how it's affected, how the socio-economic factors do play have an impact on menopause. It's going to be tricky for me. This is a difficult thing to talk about. Not going to lie. But I'm rolling up my sleeves. I'm doing the inner work. I may not get it right. I may say the wrong thing. It'd be amazing to have your support on this. So let me know if there's anything that you want me to think about, or if you have any particular contributions, do let me know. All right, ladies, I'll see you next week. Bye for now.